Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, RV extraordinaire, coming from Beckley's Camping Center today to talk to you about the proper operation for an Atwood water heater. Now, for more information on this system or any other RVs, by all means, if you call, if you email, or if you stop by Beckley's Camping Center, you ask for Paul, the Air Force guy. My contact information will be down below as well as at the end of the video. So let's get on to this water heater. So first of all, you might want to say to yourself, well, how do I know if I have an Atwood or a Suburban water heater? And those are the two most prevalent water heaters on the market. And when you're looking at your water heater door, if you have a little lens down here, and you also see a little, like an A, that is for the Atwood water heater. Now, keep in mind one important thing before you do anything with the water heater. Never, ever turn the water heater on, especially the electric side, at all, unless the water heater is full of water. Within seconds, you will burn up the element. So just remember that. So next, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about using bug screens. Now, if you read your owner's manual, you're probably going to notice that it tells you not to use a bug screen because it's going to obstruct the airflow. Although in speaking with mechanics, they haven't been able to really tell me whether or not it's really going to disrupt the airflow. Now, there is a way that you could use this screen for when you're not using the water heater. You could attach it using zip ties. And then all you do is just get little snips. You can cut the zip ties, pull it off when you want to use it, then you don't have that issue. You know, you have to ask yourself, do you want to go ahead and chance it and not have that covered and have it where you have stink bugs getting in there or bees and so forth, because that could really cause a major issue. So I tell people that are concerned maybe that the fact it's going to disrupt the airflow is, instead of using these springs, you see it comes with a little tool to use with these springs. Get yourself, you know, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or someplace, get yourself a bunch of zip ties, keep them with you, and it's going to keep it on there much tighter. Take it off when you're using it, because while you're using it, it's going to be too hot. Bugs and bees and spiders and all those things are not going to be going in there. So hopefully that helps you. Now, something else you might want to consider doing, because your door, it is spring loaded and it goes up here. I've had a customer actually tell me what they've done is they've taken, you know how you have the weather stripping around one of your doors at your house or window. They've taken and put a weather stripping around this to keep the bugs from coming in through the sides. You know, bugs are resilient. They will try and get in any which way they can, and they don't need a lot of room. So that might be something you might want to consider besides having the screen on the door itself. Now, this particular Atwood water heater, this is an electric as well as propane. Now, on the propane side, it is a direct spark ignition, meaning DSI, meaning that it will light once you basically turn the switch on. I'm going to go over that when we get inside, explain to you, because there is something else I recommend that you do when you're turning these water heaters on. Now, what you want to do when you get to your campsite, you want to make sure that when you plug in at the campsite, make sure that you have your plug in the water heater here and open a hot water spigot. It'll spit and sputter at you until it is full. That way there, once it's full, when you have a steady stream coming out of the faucet, you know that your water heater's full. At that point, you can turn it on. Recommendation at that point is you'd want to turn on the electric side. And with your Atwood water heater, by the way, it's right on the door here. There's a little yellow sticker as you look inside here, and it's going to tell you, now this one's a 6-gallon water heater, then there's a 10 and a 12, and so when you get up to the 12, it's going to give you a little bit more. But in general, you're going to get about 6 gallons of hot water an hour on the electric side. That's if you're just running the electric. If you're running the propane side by itself, you're going to get a little bit over 11 gallons an hour of hot water. If you run both at the same time, you get close to 18 gallons of hot water an hour. So what I tell you is you've already paid for
the site, which includes your electric. So turn on the electric side of the water heater. Now when you're getting ready to take multiple showers, at that point I recommend that you turn on the propane as well. So now you have two sources. It's going to give you a quicker recovery and give you more hot water that you can use. Now, back to making sure that the water tank, your water heater, is full of water. Do not, I know there's people out there that tell you, this is a pressure relief valve. If this thing gets too hot and it's overfilled, water will come out of here. Now you might want to test this every now and again, and a couple things you can do there, but do not use this to fill up your water heater, and here's why. When you fill up your water heater using a faucet or one of your spigots, the water heater will fill, but it leaves a certain portion towards the top of the tank. It's an air pocket, and that allows for expansion. If you fill your water heater using opening this pressure relief valve, then what will happen is it will fill the tank up completely, and now that will disrupt how it works. It's not going to work properly, and it could cause issues later on down the road. Now, in talking about critters getting in here, some people might lay some mothballs in here and so forth, maybe even some dryer sheets. Make sure you remove that stuff when you turn this on. You don't want to have additional flammable sources in this area. Now, if for some reason you notice that your propane side is not lighting, there could be a number of issues, but if you blow out, get yourself an air compressor, and if you check this at your home before you go on your trip to make sure it's lighting, then you should be good to go. But just blow out this tube here, and that should take care of it. It's very important. I do highly recommend that you put those screens on there, because the last thing you want to have is have a bunch of stink bugs get down in this tube area here and make themselves a big nest. That could create one heck of a fireball if and when it lit. So keep that in mind and determine what way is going to work best for you. Now there are a few different models of these. This particular one, as I'd mentioned earlier, it is gas and electric, so it's twofold. They do have some out there that are just electric. They have some out there that are just propane. And you also might find some out there that are a manual propane light, and they operate a little bit differently. I'm hoping to do a video on the manual one. I know I have one for the pop-up, and if you check, I'll have that link down below, because they pretty much work all the same on the manual, regardless of what brand it is. So I'll link that down below so you have an idea on how to operate a manual propane water heater. Now, something I highly recommend you do is when you are done camping, you want to go ahead and shut your water heater off, run a hot water spigot inside. And what you want to do is you want to run that until you get all the hot water, get the water where it's cool. At that point, what you want to do is shut that faucet off, go on out and shut off your hose, because you're done camping, you get ready to go home, and I would tell you to open up a faucet. Also, find out where your low point drains are, if you have them, and open your low point drains. You can take, if you have the little plugs on there for your low point drains, you can always set them in here in the water heater until you get home and then reinstall them. And then what I want you to do is to take out your drain plug for your water heater and set it in here. Now, if you want to evacuate the water quicker, at this point you can use your pressure relief valve, and this would be, I'm sure some of you have maybe back in the day shotgunned a soda or even maybe a beer. So you know how you take the can, you put a hole at the bottom, you hold it up to your lips, open the top, and that evacuates the can very, very quickly. Same concept here, and it helps get that water out. Now, once it's all out, you can just shut this off. When you get home, then you want to go ahead and reinstall the plug for your water heater as well as the low point drains to keep any critters from possibly getting in there. And the reason why I tell you to empty this stuff is, do you know what happens to stagnant water? It gets pretty nasty. Now, for those of you that might need the water for the trip home, because maybe you're going to be, doing some, maybe you're using, because this is a motorhome, maybe you're going to use the water system. When you get home, then go ahead and do that at that point. Now, let me take you inside and kind of walk you through how to turn on your water heater. Okay, so now you're at your campsite. You've already plugged in, you're all level and all that good stuff, and you want to get your water heater turned on. You hooked up your hose. You're going to open up a spigot, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's your outside shower, whatever, and you're going to make sure that you have continuously running water at the spigot. Once that's done, what you want to do is you want to make sure you fill the lines with propane, because if you have not used the propane system in a while, what's going to happen is you're going to have air pockets within the LP system. And what that'll cause is, that'll cause what we call misfires with any of propane appliance, whether it be your refrigerator, whether it be your water heater or your furnace. If it tries to light, they'll try lighting 3 times. If it cannot light, it'll cut off. And that's what we would consider a misfire. The more misfires you have, the shorter the life expectancy of that appliance. So my recommendation, and I'm sure you probably have heard this before, is I would tell you to light the burners on your cooktop however which way you can. And I just tell you light all 3 and shut them off. Then at that point, we have brought the propane from the tank up until this point. Sometimes this is going to be in front of your water heater, sometimes it's going to be in back of it, sometimes, you know, it's just, they're going to be in different locations, but at least you have it to this point. This will give you a less chance of having what we call a misfire. So now let me show you on how these switches work. Okay, so you can see here, this is where your light switch, your water heater switches are going to be, and they're going to be marked pretty clearly. You're going to see a bolt, a lightning bolt for your electric. You're going to see a flame for your propane side. Now, the little red light, some of you they might be smaller, some might have some different ones, but what that is to let you know if it's red, if it lights up red, that is telling you that it did not light. So anytime you light your water heater, I would always recommend that you go back and check that in a few moments to make sure that it did light, and that way there, if you need to, you might need to turn it back on, turn it back off and then turn it back on to ensure that it gets lit. So that is where your switches would be, or what they would look like at least. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, how to properly operate your Atwood water heater. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped and answered some questions for you. More information on any RVs, any questions, any suggestions, by all means do leave them down below or reach out to me. Contact information again at the end of the video as well as down below. But I do appreciate you watching, and we'll be coming back at you again soon. Take care.